What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Welcome to the Negative Zone. My name is Brandon, and I am here with the co-host and creator of the show, Eric. Eric, how you doing?
Oh, hi guys. I'm doing great. Hope everyone listening at home is doing well, and
Uh,
it's great to be here.
It is definitely great to be here. So let's get right into it, Eric. I'm not gonna waste any time. Me and you, we've kind of known each other a little bit already, going to
Yeah, about a
schools.
year now. Yeah,
About a year, Palomar College. Aw. Yeah, and we've,
yeah, my
we've always,
presence, right?
yeah, we've met obviously in film class, and just like many other people out there, we are in love with the world of Marvel, especially the MCU. But one night you came to me, you slid in my DM, and you
Uh,
told me, you told me you had an idea about talking about some Marvel films, and I said, "Great, yeah, I love Marvel." And then you specifically told me what kind of films, and that was really intrigued me. And here we are.
I would like to mention I got the idea while watching the classic 1980s film Howard the Duck.
Legend.
Great movie, great movie.
I
Um,
can't. I can't wait. I don't want to give too much out, but I can't wait when we cover that film. So
oh, of course, of course. Yeah. Well, because I was watching that and I realized how interesting it was that that movie was the first theatrical Marvel movie. It was the first real movie because there had been some television movies beforehand, like multiple. There were like two Captain America movies.
yeah,
There was a Spider-Man movie, but it was kind of more of a pilot for a show. What else am I forgetting? There was some other stuff. I mean,
I
there was the
believe.
Hulk.
I believe. There was some. I might be wrong. A coworker told me there might be some X-Men stuff out there before the early 2000s.
There
Um,
was Generation X,
I
which
believe
was
that's what it was.
yeah, a TV
Yes,
show, a live action TV show. That was on Fox. I want to say it was on Fox because I think Fox was producing all the
I might have
'90s
been Fox.
animated shows at the time.
Yes. Shout out to Fox. But yeah. So basically, what we're going to be doing here on the Negative Zone is we're covering all those films and all those projects that Marvel and Disney just kind of want you to forget about.
The
They've doomed
legacy
them.
projects.
Exactly, the legacy stuff. Yeah, they don't even want this on that tab. Yeah, this is all the forbidden stuff. So,
Also,
first film. Oh, actually, go ahead.
I was going to say these are also a lot of films that they don't own the rights to, I believe. Though, well, we'll get into it with this movie once we talk further into it. But there's a lot of interesting um, rights issues with Marvel characters, and especially some of these older films that are hard to categorize, and in this case, specifically tried to be swept under the rug. So the trying to get this re-released, I feel like will never happen. But we'll get into that.
And yeah, and there's no better example than this film we're talking about. Go ahead and lead us in. Tell us what movie we're talking about.
Yeah. So today we are talking about the 1994 Roger Corman $1 million budget Fantastic Four film, which would be at the time the first attempt to bring the Fantastic Four to film, and for about 11 years, it would be the last time. Very interesting movie. Doesn't really get talked about much, mostly because Marvel and higher ups at Marvel don't want to talk about it. It's very much not acknowledged, but it's one of those things where if you know, you know. And it's also a surprisingly very good movie.
Yes,
Not
I definitely on paper the script is really great. Like honestly, this there's the more I think about this film, the more I realize, you know what? They really had something here. And obviously others ruined it for others, but I personally I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so the big twist with this movie and the reason why you would have never heard of it is because it was never made with the intentions of being released. It was essentially a big scam. It's a big scam of a movie involving a German movie producer by the name of Ike. Uh, oh, Berkinger. Forgive me
Birkinger,
for forgetting his last name.
that's okay. You said who are the director? Who are we
The
talking about?
director was not Roger Corman. It was produced by Roger Corman. The director would be, sorry, I have that right here.
Directed by Ole Sassoon, I believe, if I'm pronouncing it
Yes.
correct.
So, I mean, I can look at his IMDb, but from what I can tell, yeah, he directed some episodes of Xena Warrior Princess. But
Oh,
besides that, it seems he was just a director for hire. This actually seems to be his only directing credit.
yeah. There's some the people that really were involved with this right at the get go. They really wanted to push out something. They were going to get a theater release. Because according to the documentary, which is called Doomed, um, this production company, Constantine Film, they never really um made anything too big, anything that would push the cinema or whatever. So this was the first time they said, "Hey, we're gonna go all in, and we're gonna make us a good movie. We want to make a blockbuster." And these guys were on board from right from the get go. They were all in. But unfortunately, things just kind of happened, and we'll get a little bit more into it. But let me go ahead and I'm gonna just read a little bit of what it says plot wise, a synopsis. It says Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom are college friends who use the opportunity of passing Comet to try an experiment. When it goes wrong, they believe Victor is dead. Susan and Johnny Storm are two children living with their mother, who has a boarding house where Reed lives. And the thing, also known as Ben Grimm, is a family friend and a college buddy of Reed's. And the four of them together become the Fantastic Four. So kind of similar to like the early 2000 films. Um, One thing I will note, now that we're actually start talking about the film, the way they introduce Victor Von Doom in this film, I really, really enjoyed. I like how not only did he die, just like kind of like the other movie, this story really takes place 10 years later. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, he died and 2 weeks later, I'm back, bitches.
Yeah, we start with an extended flashback sequence.
You know what I mean? And then they even get Reed Richards, the white hair and everything, and it was great. And speaking of hair, I don't know why it caught my attention, even though the film's kind of grainy. I like just like simple archetypes, especially with the film like this. Victor's like very black dyed hair in this film. I mean, he like it's screen villain. You know what I mean? Like it foreshadowed
Yeah,
like this guy is kind of like keep eyes on him.
yeah. The Fantastic Four, I think, a big appeal of them has always been sort of um, a surface level simplicity to their characters and kind of how clearly cut the villains and the heroes are.
Yeah,
Especially their brands of villains. Their villains are much more maniacal and much more. Yeah, I mean, not to say Doom isn't a Doom is a very well-rounded character, especially once you get into the comics. But in this movie in particular, I think they really capture the feeling of Doom. They do seem to. There's multiple liberties that seems like they don't really play into the Latvian origin
yeah,
too much, and more just kind of. Well, and they start out as Reed and Doom start out as friends in college, which is a difference from the original comics where they were rivals and Doom was very spiteful against everyone. But in this, they're more friends until the accident.
yeah, pretty much. Because yeah, it really starts off right away, really quick. And then eventually, after Victor dies, they introduce Johnny and Sue kind of right away, even before I believe, right when they're kids.
Yes, yeah. So this adapts a an origin of Sue and Johnny where Reed met them when he was much younger. That wasn't really put into the comics until like the 80s. That was sort of retconned in some of John Byrne's work
Uh huh.
in the 1980s. And then actually it was recently retconned again back in like the mid 2010s.
Okay.
Um, that Sue and Reed met in college and they were relatively the same age. Um, but yes, it does adapt that. Reed
Yeah.
met Sue when she was a lot younger.
Yeah,
And
because I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw it, I was like, "Why is she only like 10 years old?" I was like, "Oh, what the hell am I watching?" But clearly, they
yeah,
made it.
they might have made Rita groomer in this, but
Yeah, that's okay. But no, it's not. But, I think that's why Marvel wants to pull the movie, but, I
yeah,
do
that and
I
maybe the jeweler. We'll talk
yeah,
about that.
oh, we'll get to
That's
the
well,
jeweler.
that it is worth noting what's interesting because I say this is a good movie, and I say it more in the sense that the cast and the crew really put their heart into it.
Yes.
That being said, it does have flaws, budgetary wise, and sort of misinterpretations of things and things that there's honestly like some of the stuff with the jeweler later on is a little creepy. But we'll get into that, especially with like Alicia.
Yeah, because yeah, like you said, you hit it right on. Like these actors gave it their all. Like Joseph Culp as Victor Von Doom,
Oh, he's
I
great.
thought the performance was great. It really, really is.
Though
The
it is
the
a
the
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
documentary, no, sorry, the documentary kind of like he comes off. I don't want to say like a douche, but he really like kind of like he's a character of his own. But he really, really, really did a good job with this. Also, I think the groomer scene, it really did establish. That's the intro,
The groomer
the
scene.
groomer scene. I really think it did help Johnny and Sue because you could tell like the other movies, they're obviously they were siblings and they had that, but it really, really developed like a strong sibling relationship from the get go, especially because they're pretty young still, even 10 years later.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And then also too, like what was I gonna say? Okay, so the romance between Sue and Richards, it's a little overwhelming, a little bit cheesy. It is 1990s.
Yes,
Especially
it's very cute. Like once we skip forward 10 years.
yeah, and
Um,
then I'm trying to bring in like a big player like Star Wars or something, but I think it's hard to pull like these romantic love type stories in sci-fi films. You know, it's
yes, I
it's
agree
it,
with
it
you.
always kind of ruins like okay, let's talk about like real quick the last trilogy with Star Wars. I personally liked them. I didn't like the last film, but that's we'll get into that some other time. But
It's all can of worms.
it's yeah,
It's for our Star Wars podcast.
yeah, there you go. It was Groomer Skywalker. Grooming with Skywalker, but what was I gonna say? The chemistry that Sue and Richards had in this film, between the actors, what is their names? Alex Hyde White and Rebecca Staub, I think was really almost I think is one of the better chemistries they've had on camera compared to like Alba and Gufford in the 2000 movies.
Oh yeah,
Like I
definitely.
really think they did they cast a shout out to the casting director and all honestly, I think the casting
Yeah,
director did a
they did a
great
really good
fucking
job.
job for this film. They really did.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four. Yeah, the marriage, like the relationship of Sue and Reed is super super integral to the whole Fantastic Four unit.
Yeah.
Um, and I really think yeah, this movie does do a good job with that. Where the 2005 film struggled a lot more in making that relationship believable. And then I mean the 2015 movie, that's a whole other thing.
Oof.
But there was there
I
was there was no romance between them. I mean, I guess theoretically they were planning on sequels for that,
yeah.
and I'm sure would have developed later, but I don't think we're ever going to see a sequel to those.
Yeah, and that film had a way bigger budget and look how sometimes it's not all about being big time. It's what coming from the heart and obviously I haven't even seen that 2015, 2016 film and I already know I'm going to like this film way better than that one. But so let's talk about budget. Okay, so this film only had $1 million budget. Okay, and then
Yes, and I wanted to say earlier, I had gotten the name wrong, but the guy who owned Constantine Film was Bernd Eichinger, a
okay.
German producer. Constantine Film is probably best known nowadays for producing or well they make the Resident Evil movies, or at least they did. I think they don't own it anymore. But the Paul Anderson Resident Evil movies were all being put out by Constantine Film because they're a German studio, but for whatever reason they had acquired the rights to Resident Evil and the Fantastic Four.
Nice. Yeah. I never really watched the Resident Evil. I played the games, but wasn't
Games
really
are
my
good. You're
thing.
not missing out on the movies. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, I think I randomly had like the third one time for like Xbox or something. But um I like playing the other one too. The ones at the Dave and Buster's. They're not Resident Evil though, are they? Or the House of the Dead or
Oh,
whatever they're
House
called.
of the Dead is
Yeah,
yeah,
those are
that's a separate
classic.
series, but also
I
great.
yeah, I think I'm the Punisher. I put quarters on both guns and I use both of them and I die faster. I don't know how I do it. But yeah, that one and the Salvation, the Terminator one. Those are some
Movie
shooter.
theater classic.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know why they don't have any more Marvel stuff like in the arcades and stuff. But I know they have at Dave& and Buster's, they have the Contest of Champions. I play that on my phone, it's pretty cool,
Okay, yeah.
you
I
know?
like the classic Marvel versus Capcom machines, but
Oh,
those
that's
are
right. Yeah, but
harder
I
to
don't
come
see them
by.
at the arcades anymore. You only see those, like,
Yeah,
at
those
some
are yeah, retro
you see them,
arcades
like,
will
at
have them.
donut shops or, like, the random laundromats, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's go back to after when, Victor Von Doom dies. I think that 10-year span really helped, and I know I said this earlier, but when they cut to the Baxter Building and you see all these, like, technological advancements, it really puts Reed Richards, the character, over big time, like, it establishes him well. Like, spoiler alert, but for those who haven't seen, Multiverse of Madness, me and you, we saw it together. As soon as we saw Reed Richards, we fucking flipped shit,
Oh, we
but
popped. Whole
yeah, oh,
theater
yeah, it
popped
popped.
too,
Yeah, it was
which
crazy,
was good
but
good to see.
yeah, but, I think this right here, this was the best Reed Richards has ever been established in any of the films. I
You're
don't know,
talking about in this or in
in the
Multiverse of
1994
Madness?
in this film.
Okay, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
The characterization of the main four in this is excellent. I think they really nail their personalities. There's the scene, yeah, right after the flashback when
yeah,
they cut to 10 years later, and Reed and Ben go to meet Sue and Johnny, and Johnny's mom or their parent calls them the Fantastic Four, and like the music swells, and you have
uh-huh.
that little moment. I think it's really effective.
Yeah, oh, very casually, he's like, "Hey, let's go to the moon." "Alright." And they basically look that was my Sue. But, yeah,
It's a
very
good scene.
casually, "Let's go to the moon," and I guess that's what it takes to be a groomer these days, but, I, I
Well,
love this.
I do believe that, that when they meet after the 10 years, it is their first time seeing each other in 10 years. It's kind of implied that way,
That
so
makes
maybe it's
sense,
a
yeah.
little better. But it's still an awkward point of origin that they have moved past, and I don't think we'll be seeing that in any future
Yeah.
iterations.
Oh, obviously.
You can thank John Byrne for that one.
Yeah, that was kinda little stranger danger, but, I do love the scene where they show their powers for the first time. I think that was done well. However, I didn't really like the reveal for the thing. I didn't like the voice change. I don't know about you.
Yes, it's a different actor in the suit
Yeah.
compared to the person playing Ben, which is a very weird choice because the guy playing Ben is like huge. He seems like he would. What's his name? I'm sorry, I feel like I should know his name. Michael Bailey Smith. Is it list? Yeah. So it's Michael Bailey Smith as Ben Grimm, and then Carl Chirarfolio. Sorry, butchered that was last name.
Sorry,
Plays
Carl.
the Thing in the suit.
Yeah, and then, yeah, eventually 3 people played the thing because they had the casting director, I believe,
Oh,
when
that's
they
right. Yeah,
when
they
they
do
do
some
that
pickup
scene.
shots, like when he's running through the city.
And those are one of my more favorite scenes too. That was funny when I watched the documentary. I was like, "Oh, that's the casting director." But yeah, the voice change, it didn't look for the pork rind look that he has. It was just I don't I don't know. Yeah, I
Yeah, the
mean,
suit. It's one of those things because it's what you see with them.
yeah,
As far as like their powers, it all looks really not great. Sue's easy to do because she just you make someone invisible, so she's just not there.
yeah,
But Reed, he barely stretches. He like stretches his arm like 2 or 3 times. Johnny throws fireballs up until the end of the movie where he fully flames on, and it it's something else.
yeah. He looks like he looked more like an orange creamsicle than the Human Torch, you know?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
finale where
yeah,
where Johnny
he looked like an orange Silver Surfer, honestly, but,
they talk about that in the documentary as well with, the person who was doing the VFX for that scene turned
you
out
see
to be
okay,
super
see,
unreliable.
that's the thing, okay, I'm barely starting this production thing. I already know better not to bite more than I can chew, but the guy that they got really, really, really let them down big time
It is
because
very funny. I do think, that whole scene, especially when he, like, blocks the laser and he's just kinda flipping around in place, is very funny. It reminds me very much of, like, early, like, '80s CG, like Tron and that style
yeah,
of computer effects. But that's just one of those things where I feel like the Fantastic Four, especially compared to other characters that were getting adapted around the time, like the Punisher or Howard the Duck, those are characters that don't have fantastic superpowers that require, massive amounts of talent and money to effectively bring to screen,
yeah,
where the Fantastic Four, especially, all have powers and abilities that if you fully want to utilize them, you do need like an MCU type budget.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
even you watch like the 2005 movies, and there's some, they're a lot better, but even those feel fairly restrained to what these characters get up to in the comics and whatnot.
Yeah, and speaking of superstars, let's talk about the jeweler.
Yeah, I have the movie playing right now on double speed silently.
Oh, okay.
Um, and yes, yeah. So what's interesting is we're introduced very early on to a original character called the Jeweler, who is a um, he's supposed to be the Mole Man, which is another Fantastic Four villain, a lesser known Fantastic Four villain than like Doctor Doom, of course, but actually their first villain who appeared in their first issue. He's probably best known nowadays for being the inspiration of the Underminer from The Incredibles, which is, of course, inspired by the Fantastic Four. So it makes sense that they would lift that character as well.
You know what? I can't believe until you said it, I never I never noticed.
Oh yeah,
Wow,
that's very funny. Yeah, The
what a
Incredibles, of
rip.
course, are a direct reference to the Fantastic Four, and then the Underminer is the Mole Man.
That's
Yeah, that's
funny.
a fun little fact.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
funny
guess,
because, The Incredibles, the delay between part 1 and part 2 was a long time. It's the same amount of time since the Silver Surfer. Oh, well, no, they did the 15 movie, but it was a really long time before we really heard about Fantastic Four again or anything, you know? So it was cool to see, Jim Halpert jump out of his, whatever he came out,
yeah,
his teleport or whatever.
yeah. From what I understand, Kevin Feige loves the Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
but Marvel's hands have just kind of been tied for a long time because what's interesting too with like the recent like the 2005, 2007 and 2015 movies is those weren't actually made by Fox. They were just distributed. They were actually made by Constantine Studios, the German studio responsible for the 1994 film as well. But with the Fox merger now, I don't know what exactly the deal was that was struck between Disney and Constantine, but I'm sure it was probably just some massive buyout. But yeah,
I didn't know that either, that it was the same, Constantine Films for, the other Fantastic film.
Yep, yep.
That scene where they meet Alicia, since we're talking about characters,
Oh, Alicia's great in this. Yeah,
she is, but you know what's greater? That scene where,
who
the
played
thing
Alicia?
he sees it Alicia for the first time, and I swear to God, he looks like he ejaculates, bro. The face that he does, I was like, "What the hell?" But
Yeah, interesting that they have Ben and Alicia meet before he becomes the Thing as well.
yeah,
And then also Alicia in the comics, her stepfather is one of their villains, the Puppet Master, who's a character we may never see on film. I would be very surprised if the Puppet Master makes it into the MCU, but it's
never say
possible.
never.
But the Puppet Master is one of the Fantastic Four have a lot of interesting villains, especially from like the Jack Kirby era. but characters like probably like the Mad Thinker or the Puppet Master or characters like that. We
Yeah,
may see them, but I would be doubtful.
thank you for that.
Yeah,
So the film, they're in production. You know, I think they said they only shot it like in a few days. Like I think 2 weeks. They said they were done shooting.
yeah, very quick shoot.
Very, very, very quick shoot. And they said, you know, actual production was pretty kind of, you know, there was hardly any film stock. There was no monitor to play back the films like these bigger budget, you know, motion pictures. But the licensing, I want you to go ahead and just kind of, you know, for those who haven't watched this film, let alone the documentary, what was the big issue with the licensing
In regards to,
distribution to the movie?
well, the distribution of it was more so that it just was never supposed to be distributed. Um, Basically, what it amounts to is that Constantine Film and Bert Eichinger, he had been able to purchase up the movie rights to the Fantastic Four, because back in, the day, Marvel was kind of, it wasn't what it is today. If anything, DC had much more prestige than Marvel at the time, because the time these were coming out, we had seen the '70s Superman movies, we had seen the Tim Burton Batman movies, but Marvel really hadn't offered anything theatrically besides Howard the Duck, and then later the 1991 Captain America movie. Oh, 1990.
It was 90.
Um, and that's a whole other thing that we'll probably talk about at some point as
Yeah,
well. But
I was a too, but there
that
was
was
a
also not officially released.
okay, I was gonna say because there was the other film before that, which we may or may not talk next. The Punisher. I
Yeah,
believe that's
1989. Yes, we did
89.
see the
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren Punisher as well,
I shall
um,
break you. But
which is probably the most fun. And I think that's probably just because the Punisher kind of lends itself to just being like an '80s action movie,
yeah,
um,
it really
much
is.
more than you know fantastic superheroes flying around and
It's gonna
whatnot.
be it's gonna yeah, and that's gonna be a good movie to talk about. We'll definitely can't wait for that one. So okay, yeah, so the distribution for this, that I don't know how that German gentleman could live with himself saying, "Oh, you see all these passionate people really hard trying to do what they can with let alone a really crazy $1 million budget." And this whole time he's like, you know, this film is never gonna see the light of day. At least so he
Yes,
thought.
yeah. Well, by making the movie, he was able to extend the amount of time he had the license of the Fantastic Four, because otherwise it would have just reverted back to Marvel, which is what they wanted. Which is why 10 years later we would see the 2005 movie go into
That's
production.
that's
Pretty much, this movie was a scam so that they could make the 2005 movie. Years later, when they had, I mean, a big thing too was they wanted to wait for the special effects to
yeah.
be more easily accessible than they were in the '90s. So this was just sort of built as an extension. But yes, yeah, they didn't inform the cast and crew working on it, so you do get this sort of genuine passion project from the people that were working on it. But ultimately, it's like a TV budget movie.
Yeah, because you know, even Stan Lee was on board with it, you know? And
Yeah, he was
eventually he just kind
on
of
set.
yep. And even before the film was released, I think it was at a Comic Con, he says he thought the movie wasn't gonna be that good. He thought it was gonna, you know,
And he was talking shit.
yeah, and he said that he had no, he couldn't do anything with it.
He said,
And
"I'd never seen these people before in my life."
Jesus, what a sad
That's my
thing.
that's my Stanley impression.
It's
As
pretty
best I
good,
go.
man.
He said it was all Jack Kirby's idea. I had nothing to do with it.
Always blaming Jack Kirby. Rest in
Sadly,
peace. But
1994 is sadly the year Jack Kirby passed away as well.
yeah, so he's like, yes, I have somebody to
This
blame.
movie,
But overall though, I really enjoyed this movie. Um
yes, I think of all the four Fantastic Four films we've had, this one, to me, as a fan of the source material in the comics, this is my favorite of the movies, just because I find the characterization of these characters to be the most faithful in
Yeah.
this film
And
too.
this film does deserve an actual legit post-production and,
Yeah, it
I
would be
mean, a
amazing if
release.
we Yes, well, yeah, let me yeah, so the 35 millimeter negative of the film has never been recovered. The version we have is a recording of it.
Yeah.
Um, so if you watch it, even I have like a bootleg Blu-ray of it, and that's in high definition, but also not really. It's similar to the Star Wars Holiday Special,
Okay.
which is
That's
another
perfect.
sort of
That's a perfect
piece of
example.
lost media from a major franchise
Yeah.
that exists. It exists. And you can easily watch it. The movie's on YouTube. You
Yeah,
can
that's how
find it
we
no
watched it.
problem.
Yeah, well, and I'll put the link down here as well as the trailer, so you can show the
Yes.
difference, but,
Yeah. So what's interesting is that there was a trailer released that does have a direct scan of the 35 millimeter. So that there is footage from that trailer that is in, high definition, but it's just that, minute and a half of footage as opposed to the whole film, which at this point I don't think we'll ever see. Maybe if the MCU Fantastic Four ends up being a big hit and there's sort of a push for that, because we just recently got a re-release of the 70s Doctor Strange movie, like an official release of that, which I didn't expect to see, and that came out through Shout Factory, right when Multiverse of Madness released a couple months ago. So it's very possible. Never say never, but if that does happen, it wouldn't be for a while still, I would imagine.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's one of those, if it does, it pass quietly.
It would nice to see the people who worked on this get the recognition, and I think it
Exactly.
give them a cameo in the MCU.
And,
You
I
know,
literally was gonna say that. They should do, like, they go back, like, if they go in the
just
future,
have a scene where the four of them are eating lunch or something,
there you
and
go.
they're in the background. That's what we need. Give them something. Throw them a bone.
Eating shawarma or something. Okay, so I have a question for you before we kinda end this. If you were given the opportunity to shoot a superhero film with only the same budget that this crew had, and I will tell you right now, guaranteed it's gonna be released in theaters, who would you choose? You could say Fantastic Four, but if you had to choose, let's be real, outside the Fantastic Four, if you had to shoot, whether it's an origin movie or a full on,
Is this Marvel or is this any?
let's say Marvel.
Okay. For the sake of, I've never hear anyone really talk about them. I think it'd be interesting to do an Alpha Flight movie.
Okay.
Um, but also that would probably just require a high budget. I mean, realistically, of course, anything
Yeah.
Marvel related, especially now, would just require so much money. Uh, so producing something on this budget, I mean, maybe is this what like the budget of like the Runaways was, or maybe New Mutant?
Yeah, there you go.
If you made a movie like this today, you would just end up with New Mutants.
Okay.
Yeah, probably either like maybe a mutant team or something you could do, pretty small scale. Maybe Howard the Duck. I guess you could do Howard the Duck. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna change. That's gonna be my answer. If I could direct a Marvel movie, but I only get $1 million budget, it's gonna be Howard the Duck.
I had a feeling you were gonna say that.
It's always Howard.
That's how it yes, I know. It's always Howard the Duck. If I had to choose,
In the beginning, it was Howard.
wow. See, I'm the one I came to ask the question. I don't even know. Because $1 million now, I mean, I wish I had $1 million, but in the world of film, that's really not a lot.
Oh no, and
Yeah,
yeah, for superhero budget filmmaking, I
yeah.
think it'd be incredibly funny to see like $1 million Silver Surfer movie.
There you go. Little surfboard, foil paper.
Yeah,
Um,
projected space.
there you go. If I had to choose,
Just a man in a silver morph suit.
you
Yeah,
know,
we can talk about the costumes, the actual
oh, okay, yeah.
Fantastic
Let's
Four
go ahead.
costumes.
That'll give me time to think about somebody. The costumes, I actually liked them.
Yeah, they're very inspired. They're inspired by the '80s books. Well, a lot of this draws. They talk about in the documentary that they read some early Kirby issues, but at some point they must have been reading the John Byrne '80s issues, which would have been pretty new still at the time. And I think, especially in the early '90s, the books, they were still kind of coming off that era. So I
Yeah.
imagine they were just pulling off a bunch of random stuff. But yeah, the costumes look good. They're definitely very cheap looking and they look homemade, which I mean Sue talks about. I don't think they mention the unstable molecules at all.
No,
Uh,
I don't think I don't remember. I don't think so.
yeah, which is just in the comics. That's their suits are designed by Reed, and they're all made of unstable molecules, which is just made up nonsense to explain why
Yeah.
their suits can stretch and turn invisible and catch on fire.
That's
But
I to be fair, I would want one of those suits.
oh yeah, it's super
You know what I
comfortable,
mean? I'd wear that motherfucker anywhere.
very form fitting
Very, very formal, just a job interview, you know what I mean?
to your job interview.
Why would I go to Comic Con? I'll just go work self checkout in my best Reed Richards. If they do, you know what though? If you do a Fantastic Four one, you should cast me as the Mole Man. I'll do it.
Yeah, my dream is to get Danny DeVito as the Mole Man
I
if
oh my
they
god,
if
that would
they
be
end up
so
putting him
great.
in one of the movies.
I well we should start that now. If you're gonna bring the Mole Man, actually I don't want a Doctor Doom. Um,
Yeah, I think
he's gonna get his own show. We want the Mole Man and we want Danny DeVito.
I imagine this first movie they're gonna not do Doctor Doom.
I don't know, man. They might because yeah, it's rumored. You know, I don't know if you heard recently. Howard Stern says that he's been in talks with Marvel about. He's actually it's been doing some stuff for some Doctor Doom project that's yet to be announced. So it's one of those. It's like I want to see Doctor Doom, obviously, because with the MCU budget and just the way. I mean, for the most part, I don't think the MCU has never got okay. If you want to go by the book, maybe, but like character wise or casting wise, I never really had like, oh, isn't the guy right guide or I don't like this person. So whoever they get for the Doctor Doom, I know they're gonna get it right. But
Oh,
um,
yeah, I have faith.
but I just it's kind of like the Dark Phoenix, man. Like if they bring the X-Men back and the first thing they want to do is the Dark Phoenix story, it's like, dude, you know what I mean? This is gonna be the third time.
Yes,
But
that's why. Yeah, I imagine Doctor Doom's gonna come about in like his own movie, and then this first movie will just be about um, them and the Fantastic Four themselves, and then probably either like the Mole Man or Nihilus are one of their other villains that we haven't seen in any of their movies. Because there's been four movies, and every single movie has had Doctor Doom in it.
it's one of the better villains, but Disney's got to get them right. You know,
Yeah. Oh, I know Marvel will knock it out of the park with them. They've
we'll
been
see.
wanting to have Doctor Doom for so long.
I read today, there's it's rumored, and if it's true, I can't freaking wait. That the Thing might be appearing in the She-Hulk series coming out in next month or two
Yeah,
months.
I heard the Jason Segel rumors.
Yeah, I was like, what? Jason's I Love You Man's gonna do.
That's a good casting, especially because Jason Segel and John Krasinski are friends in real life. So
Yeah,
I think having that dynamic of them already being good friends, because that would be the same with having Emily Blunt play Sue
and at
and
this
having
point,
that
I
dynamic
can't
of
see anyone else playing Sue because you know she was supposed to be Black Widow, so they kind of
yes,
like,
yeah.
hey, you want
But
to
she
come
had to
back?
star in Gulliver's Travels with Jack Black
Yes.
because of a contractual issue with Universal.
Which movie we will cover in our Criterion podcast. But
Oh, Gulliver's
um
Travels with
yes,
Jack Black.
absolutely. That's a
Yeah, well, that
three-parter.
that'll be a Patreon
I don't know.
exclusive
We
episode.
might have to do live, rent out the YMCA for that one. But
Yeah, that'll be our first live show.
yeah, that's gonna be great. But yeah, I don't see anyone else playing Sue than Emily Blunt, especially with what's homeboy's name?
Krasinski, John Krasinski.
Krasinski. Yeah. I guess he's gonna be directing it, right? They gave him the nod, or he's gonna
That's the theory. There's been nothing confirmed yet,
right?
but John Watts is out, and they are looking for another director.
That's us, bro.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, it's us.
We
We're
just
gonna
gotta
get
get
the nod.
Danny DeVito to sign on. Yeah. And we'll tell him too. We'll do it with a $1 million budget.
The rumor
Yeah.
though of the Thing being in She-Hulk, it would be exciting, but it would also be strange.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would introduce the Thing before like the Fantastic Four are in the main MCU universe.
So,
Because I mean, they were in Doctor Strange, but they were in a different universe.
exactly.
S- So it would just. That's why I'm kind of holding my breath with that rumor, because it's
Yeah,
like, well, why would the thing just be there? Because what I read is that she would defend them. And I'm sorry, this is like spoiler talk, I guess, for people who don't look into rumors, but I don't necessarily believe this one.
it's
So
okay. I think if people are watching us talk about the 1994 fantastic film, I'm pretty sure they're on board with us. So
yes, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But apparently she's like defending him in like a defamation case. But it just seems like, well, why would he be there? You
yeah.
know, because he wouldn't get, wouldn't be around until the rest of the Fantastic Four had their accident
And here's
and
my
are
thing
like
too,
established.
and that's what I want to. Because I say so. Krasinski, is he for sure been casted in the Fantastic Four movie or no? It's all rumor, right?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, it seems very likely, but there is a lot of speculation that like,
It's heading that
oh
way.
well, this one, he was from a different universe, um, and he died. But it's like, well, you watch Doctor Strange, and then all the different, you know, multiple universe people are played by their same actors. Um, except for, people will point to like Spider-Man and whatnot, of course,
Yeah,
being
I
played by
mean,
different actors. So there
yeah, because
is room for like, oh well, Reed in this universe is John Krasinski, but in the main universe he's someone else.
he's someone else, and that's what I'm afraid to. Because with Kevin Feige, I heard him say that, like, "Oh, I casted Krasinski because everybody wanted to see him," and obviously it was great. Honestly, they could have casted anybody, bro. They could have casted Donald Trump, and I would have been like, "Yeah, oh my
Uh-huh.
god, dude,
Yeah,
Fantastic Four
Donald
is
Trump was Mr. Fantastic.
yes, I am fantastic. Look the way I stretch.
I can make my body huge.
I could grab him by the pussy way from over here. Look at you know what I mean?
I
But
I'm the smartest man in the world. Nobody's smarter than me.
in this universe, this multiverse, everything's great. But but yeah, so we'll see if they get somebody else, because I heard the film's going to be based in the 60s and in the modern day at the same time. So there's going to be
Yeah, there's
probably
that.
some time travel type thing.
Doctor Strange made a reference to them being from the '60s
Yeah.
in the film, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Either way, I'm sure whatever they give us is going to be better than what we've had. Um, and I'm just excited too for these characters and this sort of whole pocket of the Marvel universe to finally be recognized by the mainstream in a way that isn't kind of a joke in the way they have been,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate because they're such a cornerstone of the comics and of the Marvel that we know was all sprung about by them, because there were characters in the 30s and the 20s like Namor and early Captain America stuff.
Yeah.
But the Marvel everyone knows really came about in 1961 with the Jack Kirby Stan Lee era, which all sprung forth from the Fantastic Four.
Yes. Absolutely. I agree with you. So I mean I think it's the last film of the phase. Whatever phase this is phase 4 already or phase 5? It's 5 or 4. I think this is 5,
Phase
right?
Four, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to end.
Which
So I
I guess is
mean,
appropriate. Phase Four would be closed out with
yeah.
the Fantastic Four.
So and then Comic-Con I think is this weekend or it's coming this month. So we'll see if
Yeah, it's
Fish
this month. We have to get an announcement. I imagine
I
they're
think
gonna announce the cast.
that or
Um,
they're announcing the phase for sure, the next phase officially,
mhm.
because then it's next year and then that's it, right? Because it's Thor's coming out. I think it just came out, and then we're getting Wakanda Forever, and then
Yes, because
Ant-Man.
yeah, we just had
Yeah.
the Namor um, release.
We're
Which,
getting
speaking of Fantastic Four,
Ant-Man. We might not get it till next year because we have Ant-Man, the Marvels,
Guardians Three, Blade.
Guardians 3, and then I believe it's Fantastic Four, plus
I
all
think
these other
Blade is
shows.
in there as well. Blade's gonna be between that.
Blade actually might end the phase, which I'm looking forward to. I think Marshall Ali is a great actor, and he deserves him being casted. But going back, I think okay. So on the topic of Blade, I'm gonna take probably kind of what they did with the 89 film of The Punisher. Realistically, sci-fi and like graphics with $1 million, you could do some stuff, but you can't do a lot. So I'm thinking something maybe like sorry.
Morbius Crossing.
No, Jesus Christ. I was thinking something maybe like Blade, or even something. I know everybody likes Deadpool, but something kind of along that lines, or even, you know what I think would be good? A Bishop or a Cable film. I think it could be done with $1 million.
Yeah, any of the lesser known X Men, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, X Men. Once that really folds in, if you thought there was a lot of like Marvel and Disney Plus content now, just wait until the X Men show up.
I'm gonna go bananas. All right, man. So yeah, this was great. I thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for bringing this idea. Alrighty, later, guys. Like and
Later.
subscribe. Bar Studio Productions. Eric, plug your Instagram.
You can follow me at Eric Bradley __. Check me out. I mostly just shit post my stories.
But those shit posts are worth it, guys. Subscribe. All right, later.